Hey everybody, welcome to the video screen my core plays for week 20 conference championship round of the NFL season over on Draftkings. And if you find this video helpful in any way possible, please leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really do appreciate it. And while you're at it, you might as well hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss out whenever I post new content. And YouTube tells me around 50% of the people who watch these videos have not yet subscribed. So if you're a frequent visitor to the channel or if you're just new to like what you see, consider that subscribe button because it really helps the channel grow, and it's obviously going to help me out as well. And if you want to follow me over on social media, and also in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. And if you want to help support the channel over on Patreon, link is down below for that. You get access to the spreadsheets, the cheat sheets, the notes, the projections, the Discord chat, and all of that fun stuff. I do cover other sports as well. And also, if my shirt looks like this as it is right now, it's because it's kind of a similar color to the green screen. So I might be blending in and out during this video, but I don't feel like changing my shirt because I like this shirt. So hopefully you can bear with me there. But without further ado, let's dive into today's video. Alright, and leading us off with core play number 1, it's no other than Travis KELCE here at $8,000. And the reason being is just he is so much better than everybody else at his position here. Like for the wide receivers, you can make a case for Stefon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, all being the wide receiver 1 on this slate. But at the tight end position, there's a massive drop off between Travis KELCE and everybody else. I think Robert Tonyan's a fine, cheap tight end play, but even then, like Travis KELCE could very easily get 30 Draftkings points in this game, and the other tight ends in this slate like Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Bray, Robert Tonyan, Dawson Knox. I mean, would it be shocking if none of those guys get past like 5 or 6 points? So that's why I really like Travis KELCE here, just because he gets you such a big advantage at any other player at his position. And on the season, the guy has just been so dominant. He's putting up wide receiver 1 numbers this season, close to 100 receiving yards per game, close to 10 targets, nearly a touchdown every single week, over a 25% target share, also a 25% market share of the team's air yards, which is pretty darn good for a tight end. You also know that Patrick Mahomes is confirmed back, so he gets his quarterback back, which we know Patrick Mahomes is pretty much the best quarterback in football, and Travis KELCE is just a model of consistency all season long. And the Chiefs also own the highest implied team total on the slate at 29 points, and this game also features a 54.5 point over-under, so I'm expecting a shootout here. Now, these defenses aren't awful, but I wouldn't say that the greatest either, and the Bills defense has really struggled versus tight ends this season, ranking 28th, which means they're allowing the 5th most points per game to the position, despite being 12th DVA versus the pass, so it has been a soft spot for them. And when these guys played earlier in the season, Travis KELCE had close to 30 DraftKings points. He actually had 2 touchdowns and overall had a pretty solid game, and I would not be surprised if we see something similar in this one. So Travis KELCE, he's my core play number 1 on this slate. Alright, getting into core play number 2, it's Stefon Diggs here at $7,000. And among the big 3 wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Stefon Diggs in this slate, he is the cheapest of the bunch. So that's going to give him the nod for me over the rest of those guys because I feel like he has just as much as upside as anybody else on this slate. And we're getting a nice discount as well. I feel like him and Josh Allen are way too cheap. And it's pretty much my favorite stack on the slate, right behind Patrick Mahomes and Travis KELCE. You can just save some money with this stack, and I think they can put up about an equal amount of points here. So I really liking Stefon Diggs, and at only $7,000. Now the matchup versus the Chiefs, it actually is pretty tough. They're allowing the 2nd fewest points per game to the wide receiver position, and they're kind of mid-pack DVA-wise versus the pass. But Stefon Diggs has just been a wild consistency all season long, just like Travis KELCE that we mentioned earlier, but he has not had a game below double-digit points all season long. He's the only wide receiver that can say that. So, I mean, he's just been in a league of his own. He's been so consistent. The ceiling has been high. The floor has been very high. Now, his matchup versus the Chiefs early on in the season wasn't the greatest game in the world. Still at around 16 fantasy points. So even then, when it's a pretty bad game, having 16 points is pretty good when that's been close to your floor this season. So, yeah, I like Stefon Diggs quite a bit. This game should be an absolute shootout. Like I mentioned earlier, the 54.5 point over-under. There's only a 3.5 point spread. And the Bills are dogs here. So, if they're trailing in this game, I think we could have a huge game from Stefon Diggs and everybody else really on this Bills offense. So, I'm looking forward to this game. I think Stefon Diggs is going to be a big part of it as well. Alright, so core play number 3 for me is Chris Godwin here at $5,400. And it's a couple of reasons here. I don't love the matchup versus the Packers, but Antonio Brown being out for this game is definitely a big upgrade for guys like Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson, and Scotty Miller. But the big thing about Chris Godwin here is that he should avoid Jaire Alexander for the majority of this game. I assume he's going to be glued all over Mike Evans, so I'm not really too excited about playing Mike Evans in this game. For Chris Godwin, should definitely see the softer matchup, and with Antonio Brown off the field, we're taking a large target share of the offense. We're talking about a 20% target share, close to 8 targets per game, about 60 receiving yards, and about a 20% market share of the team's air yards. So you have to take that off the field, and that's not all going directly to Chris Godwin, but it's definitely a bump up for everyone involved here. But like I was saying, the thing I like most here is that he should avoid Jair Alexander, because looking at Alexander's splits this season, he's only played 4% of his snaps in the slot and 75% on the left side of the field, and Chris Godwin plays about 60% of his snaps in these slots. So for the majority of the game, Godwin should see the softer coverage between him and Mike Evans and the other guys on the field as well, and that's good enough for me to give him the edge over the other guys here. So at only $5,400, I feel like it's a bit too cheap. He should push for double-digit targets, and the Bucks are dogs in this game. Now I realize the weather might not be the greatest here in Green Bay, but I'm not too concerned about it as long as there's no wind, which is not expected to be too much heavy wind here. They're at about 3.5-point dogs, so it's nothing too drastic. But if they are trailing in this game, which they are projected to do so, they throw the ball a little bit more, even though it's easier to run in the Packers than it is to throw the ball. But if they don't have a choice, Chris Godwin could be in line for a pretty darn good game here. He was a very talented wide receiver, and I feel like he's just a bit too cheap. And what should be a decent matchup if he is going to avoid Jair Alexander for the majority of this game. Alright, so moving on to core play number 4, we got to find some value here because I did talk about some more expensive players. So Devin Singletary at $4,500, he does fit the bill for me. Now last week, I liked him quite a bit. It was a tough matchup versus the Ravens, but he did end up busting. Did not have a very good game, barely got the ball. He only had 10 total touches. I feel like we could see an uptick in usage here. It is a better matchup on the ground here versus the Kansas City Chiefs. They're actually okay versus the pass. They're not absolutely locked down, but they are okay versus the pass. But versus the run, that's where they have struggled at. They are 31st DVA versus the run, meaning second to last. And they're also 25th versus running backs, so bottom 10 to league. Also allowing over 100 rushing yards per game and also over 50 receiving yards per game as well. Now the reason we like Devin Singletary is because Zach Moss is going to be out for this game once again, so Singletary is going to be the main back here. Again, I know he didn't have a great game last week, only 10 total opportunities, but he's still the lead back. He played the majority of the snaps, and he also had the majority of the touches as well, and I feel like they can get him more involved. And if the Bills happen to be trailing, it's still going to work out for him. It's not going to be, he's not like Alvin Kamara where he's going to get 10 plus targets, but he is the main receiving back on this team. So if he can get us like 10 plus carries on the ground and maybe get a handful of targets, I think he can be a pretty good value play, especially if he can find his way into the end zone. So Singletary, I'm willing to go back on him after busting his chalk last week because, again, it just sets up well for him. We don't have many options on this slate, so when value arises for a running back that can get us 10, 15, some touches, I think it's worth taking a shot on. And that's going to conclude the video, guys. I know it was a short one, but there was just very limited options for this slate. Obviously, there's some other guys I like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. All those guys are fantastic plays, but again, super small slate, so these are the 4 guys that I'm most interested. But I hope this was helpful, and if it was, make sure to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. Hit the notification bell as well. If you want to follow me over on social media, it's in the bottom right corner of your screen. And if you want to help support the channel over on Patreon, link is down below for that. So I think that's just about it. I am rooting for the Bills to win, but I do think the Super Bowl is going to be the Chiefs versus the Packers, a nice Mahomes versus Rodgers Super Bowl showdown, which I think is going to be a super fun game to watch. Like, I have nothing against Tom Brady, but I've seen enough Tom Brady Super Bowls, so I'm really rooting for Aaron Rodgers to make it because he is having a fantastic season, and I'd love to see him in the Super Bowl. But you can let me know your guys' Super Bowl predictions down below, but I think that's just about it, so I'll stop rambling, and I'll see you guys in the next video.